Hey up everybody and welcome back. Alright, what have we got to say before we start? Well, first of all, thank you for all the comments about my cold and Linda's colonoscopy. Although, don't tell her that I mentioned that on the video. Cold's almost gone, just a little bit sniffy. And Linda's colonoscopy was fine. It was like a follow-up one. Not that you're that interested, but anyway, thank you for the kind comments. 4,900 and something subscribers. Yes. Slight pause there for that lorry to go past. Yeah, 4,900 and something, so we're heading towards the magic 5,000. And then once we're past that, God, no time at all, it'll be 1 million. And then I'll have to start putting adverts on for Grammarly, so that students don't even have to learn how to spell or do things or anything. What else? Alright, we had a lot of comments and they were very specific, funnily enough, this time. So rather than go through them now, I mean, I've answered nearly everybody, I think. Let's look at the bike. We'll see what we're going to do this week, and we'll also answer the comments. Yes, the fire brigade's on the way. Serves you right. First of all, the footrests. We had several comments about them because I was using the B50 ones. As was pointed out, on the B50 the mounting is back here and they point forwards. So I've just swapped them round. Now this means that they're not perfect for the way they fold up, but they fold up fine. And don't forget, God, we've got a lot of lorries today. A lot of these earlier bikes, which we're sort of aiming to duplicate, didn't have folding footrests anyway. In fact, you know, I rode around on bikes with a bolt in them, and other ones just had a piece of flat plate that came out from under here. So let's not go mad over this. Anyway, we were a bit rushed last week, so there's the finished idea. Looks like it came off a Harley, doesn't it? It's a bit industrial. Anyway, the idea is that it fits onto this block and therefore it can't move, but the actual weight of the rider is taken on the 1/2-inch rod that goes through there. And actually, I've got a piece of threaded rod in at the moment. By the time I was finished here, I needed a piece 14 inches long, and the 4130 or 4140, I can't remember which that I got, was only 12 inches. So I was ordering a new bit, and I was looking at the steel that the stockist had, and I actually got, God, I forgot the grade. But anyway, it's about another 30,000 pounds of strength, so I'm getting an even stronger 1/2-inch piece for there. So the idea is, these go on there, like that. And once on, that stops them from rocking backwards and forwards, and as I say, with this big steel rod, it's not going to bend. So, yes, these should, in a perfect world, fold backwards, and they don't. They fold almost vertically, slightly forwards. I'm not bothered. I doubt this thing will ever be raced. Who knows if it'll ever be ridden. You know, I do it for fun. You watch for fun, so let's not get carried away with technicalities. Anyway, they will work. They'll be good and solid. They clear the kickstart. On the other side, as I say, we have a little thing with the gear change, but we'll work that out. But anyway, there's the footrest on. So that was that done. Now then, what else are we going to do this week? Right, let me pull you out so I can talk about that. Now my plan for this week is to get the frame completed. We'll be doing everything except the prop stand, because you've seen me do them before, and as you know, I like to have the bike all done so that I can decide how far over I want it to lean. Then we'll make the prop stand. So we have the bronzing to do down here. Now, I was asked again about bronzing and my choice of welding. Why some things I weld and some things I bronze. Now, ordinary welding is fusion welding. And fusion welding is stronger than a bronze joint, because basically a bronze joint is a glued joint, if you want. But the thing about bronze is it's gentler on the tube, particularly the chrome moly style tubing that I use. It's a little bit flexible, which is nice, and you can build it up to create fillets in joints, which are a lot of great things for tubing. And, you know, I'm self-taught, as I've mentioned, as you've obviously seen over time. So one of the things I always have done is, perhaps rather than delving into the whys and wherefores of things, just looked around and said, wait a minute, you know, the Rickman brothers, Colin Seeley, all those people, they build fantastic frames. They use chrome moly tubing, or Reynolds 531 as it was, and they sift bronze, they silicon bronze them. So for whatever reason it's good, it doesn't matter, they do it, their frames don't break, so I do it. So that's to answer that. Okay, so things like this would be bronzed, whereas for instance those footrests where I was putting all those bits of plate together, I welded them. Right, so we're going to finish the frame. So we have these few things to bronze, but before I take the engine out, I want to put a bracket or two up here because we've got to mount the coil and the little CDI box for the ignition. So I'm going to get that out, see where the wires come to, because I don't want to make brackets on this with the engine out and then find either that the engine clonks against them, which obviously it won't because there's so much space, or that the wires don't reach. So we'll fit those brackets. Then again, before I take the engine out, because it's holding everything in the right place, I'm going to put in that cross member underneath. Just tack it in so everything's right. Then we'll take the engine out. Then we'll finish off all the bronzing of things we've already put on. And then the last sort of brackets that I've got to put on are one down here and one up here on each side to take the side panel. You may remember this one's got a nut on the back, so we're going to have the same thing here and here so that we can just put the side panel on and screw three nice looking bolts in. And what I want to do is put them pretty centered in the tube as they are here, so that instead of it being, I don't want it to be on the outside, I want it to be nicely in here. So we'll put a little piece on the back of that, slightly recessed, and put the bracket there sort of halfway, so that when we put the panel on it slips inside the tubing. Then we've got this, and I think this is in frame, I don't know, up here there are a couple of brackets. They were from the exhaust, that strange great big boxy silencer that they used to have on here. They need to come off. Then that's about it. When that's all done, the frame is ready. Now the next thing I was going to do with the forks, I was going to take them to my friends and get them shortened. But looking at everything, I've decided to leave them right till the last. I've got 5 inches sticking up out the top. Let me check again. No, you can't quite see that, but I've got 5 inches sticking out the top. And the angle I've got at the moment is 29 degrees, which is what I was aiming at. But with the wheels and everything on and the proper suspension units, I don't know how it's going to sit. Now I don't mind having about 1 inch sticking out of the top. So what I'm going to do is leave the forks until everything else is done. I mean, I can even leave it till the engine's in if I wanted. And then I'll decide where they need to be in the yokes and how much we need cutting off the top. So after we've done the frame part, I'm going to do the wheels because the spokes have come. So alright, let's look at this ignition and its units and see what we need to do up here. Right then, let's have a look, see what we've got in our box here. Various bits and pieces to go inside there. Kill switch. So, there is the little CDI unit. And there is the ignition coil. 2 outputs. Just the usual lost spark system. Fires top to the centre each time. And somewhere in here there are bolts and spacers. Oh, there it is. A bracket. For the ignition coil. Now, you may remember on the Enfield I actually welded the bracket on. May I do that again? Don't know yet. You've got to see. Right, now the other thing is the important electronical gubbins that goes on the engine. And the reason we're getting this out is because I want to see how much wire we've got, which there looks to be a lot. Now this is going to go, oh god yes, that's going to go in there. Oh, we've got a ton. Even if the wires come out the bottom, right down there. So I needn't worry at all about wires. We can fit up here and not have any problems. So let's have a look, see what we need to do. Let me just wrap this all up again. This, by the way, is just ignition only. Electrex World do a one with the generator coils in it. But we don't need that. So, those of you who watch me build the Monster and remember that wiring harness for a Japanese bike, this one's only going to have 4 wires. Very nice. Right, so there's that bracket. Now then. See, that's this time. Well, well, we're really close to that connector look. I'm going to have to put a little spacer in there to move that out a bit. Now then. Could just put that on like that. And that one on a bracket. Perhaps a nice little bracket in the corner like that. Hang on, let me bolt this coil on. Now it turns out this mounting place is actually threaded, so I've stuck a little spacing washer in to give me a bit more room to get the spade connector on there. We know we've got lots of wire. Now I want this to be right in there, so I might make a piece to go in there that will bolt to keep it central, and that will bolt to. Now here we're pretty close to these wires getting onto there, so it actually might be easier. Like that. Oh, now that. Those wires up there. Not like that. But anyway, whichever it is, I think if I just put a piece in there, we can drill it, bolt that to it, and bolt that to it. So I'll offset it a little bit. Let me look, see exactly where it's going to go, and then we'll cut a little piece to go in there. Now I've cut a piece and drilled the holes for the mountings, so that's going to go on there, like that. So we've got plenty of wire to get to these. They're easily going to reach to there nicely, so let me get that clamped there and a bit of bronze put on it, and then we'll do the tube at the bottom. Now I got that bronzed in on the other side, so that's going to go in there like that. And that is going to go in there like that. So it's going to go there, and that's going to go there. Get my hands in the way again. That's going to go in there. So that's all nicely tucked in inside the frame part. So now we'll go and put in our cross piece. Now then, this is the piece we're putting in. I've coped the end a little bit. I don't know what you can see here. And that is going to go in there like that. Just behind the sump. So I'll measure up, make sure I'm exactly even on both sides, and then I'll tack that in, then we can take the engine out. Right, so there we are, back to the bare frame. So as I say, I'll bronze up these things I've missed that I couldn't get at. Then we've got to put a little piece in here, because you remember I had to extend this bottom tube so it's just hollow. So if I'm going to put a piece across the bottom of that, I might as well make it into a little gusset to help up these plates. So let me get on and do that, and then we'll come back and, as I say, we'll make these brackets here. Now I had a couple of comments slightly differently about weight. One chap said he'd seen an XS650 dirt bike years and years ago and it was incredibly heavy, and another one mentioned that sort of all the brackets I was putting on it was getting to be heavy again. I'm going to show you something now. I have a couple of 650 engines because I had a couple of basically scrapped 650 bikes that I picked up, and I scrapped the frames. Now when I took those frames down to scrap, I could barely lift them up. This is just the frame, not the bike. I could barely lift the frame up to get it into the pickup. Complete frame. So with all the gusseting and everything in it, it's going to be quite strong enough. But this thing, I'm reckoning that we're going to come in at about £300 for the complete bike. A B50 MX I think is 240 or something of that order. My Trials bike's 200. The YamBSAki engine I found out is about £150, so that's £70 more than the B's 250. So seeing as this is going to be basically about the weight for sort of the rolling chassis as the Trials bike, not much more. The Trials chassis comes in at 120. 150 for the engine, that's 270. Let's add £30 on, which there won't be for sundries. So we're going to be under £300, and I think an XS650 is like 460 even, but admittedly that's got road going stuff on. But this should be very nice. The 650 engine that I put in the XT500, God, it just transformed the bike, and the XT500 frame is a knockoff of this. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that we're still really light. So let me get this bronzing done. Now I've got these joints all bronzed up, so as I say, I want to fill up this bottom end, and we might as well put a couple of little gussets in here. So what I've done is, there's the 1.5 inch diameter of that. Cut that out, and literally a couple of ears that are going to go up and be bronzed in, and then I'm going to make a piece on the back. I'll show you that next. So as usual, say we started with a piece of cardboard with that on, a couple of straight bits. This was a bit bigger, and then I folded those up, put them in, and marked where I wanted them to come to that, and from that we got to this. So what I'm going to do now is bend these, and then that will go in and we'll fasten it in. I need to put the piece in the back, and I've already cut a little template for it, and in fact cut a piece of metal. It's the way we always do it, but I'm going to show you the piece on the back, because as you can see there's curves here. There's the opposite curves on the other side. So I'll show you how we get it to fit into that. It's nothing special, it's just a lot of banging. But let me show you. Now then, here's the cardboard template. Now as you can see, it's got to have quite a few curves in it. It's got to go in at the bottom, it's got to curve round at the top, it's got to take a little curve there. So we could just very carefully beat it out, keep trying it and trying it. But with small pieces like that, it's not that easy to get curves in. So what we're going to do, I've already cut a piece of metal. Now as you can see, it barely touches anywhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to hammer it in so it touches at the bottom and use this as the former. Actually, it might be easier to hammer it in at the top. But the basic idea is we're going to get 2 or 3 places where it touches and weld it or bronze it, whichever you're doing, in those places, and then using them to hold it, you can batter the rest round into shape, and then as each part gets to where you want it, you'll tack it in, and eventually it'll be all in and all touching where it should be. Then you can do your final weld or bronze. So let's just see if we can let's see, we've got to get that. It's going to go in down there, it's going to touch there. There, like that. Now you see we're getting it to go in. We can fasten it here, then we can beat that corner into there, fasten it there, beat the other corner in, and gradually work our way around. So let me do a little bit and put a couple of blobs of bronze on, and then we'll come back. Now you can see there I've bronzed the part that was touching and stopped just before the part we've got to form, because now, see, with that help I can bend that in. So now I can bronze that along there, then I can form this side more, bronze it, just follow the forming all the way around and we'll get it to fit. So let me do that. There it is, all bronzed in, and you can see it's formed into there, it's formed in there. So all of that would have been really difficult to form up with these little pieces of metal because it's got nothing to grip to do the forming. But here the grip's formed by the bits you bronze or weld, and you can just form the rest of it. So that's all in nicely, so everything's tied together here. That is now a really, really solid joint. We have no worry about that at all. So oh, pardon me, last bit of phlegm. I might tidy up a couple of these. That's another beauty of bronzing. I can sort of remelt that and get it to flow in better, so it's like the rest of it. Alright, what have we got to do now? Now we'll start with the top corners. I thought the easiest way to do these, rather than cutting some plate, was to just use some 1 inch by 8. So I'm just going to put that, oh look at that, this scrap pieces, just till I've got the right angle. So we'll cut this out, and then because of the bronze in the corners I'll need to just cut the corners out a little bit, and then we'll bronze that in. Right, there's the piece, final piece. See, it's got a little curve in it on that side because this tube has a curve in it there, and it's got the corners seen to go around the bronze. So that's going to fit in there like that. And as I say, I want the side panel to fit inside the tubing. I don't want it on the outside like that. I want it to fit inside there. So this is going to be welded, well, bronzed in about halfway in there. Now I still got to put a hole in it and put a nut on the back. So let me do that, and then we'll put some bronze in there, and that's that side done. And there's the bracket bronzed in there, and it's probably out of focus. There's the one in the other side. So those two are ready. Let me pull you back a bit. I think I can. And move it a little bit as well. Alright, so one there, one there. So what we want now is one here. And again, see, I suppose I can put a spacer in the back of this just to move it over, but again, because I want that panel to come on the inside, about the center line of the tubes, we're going to need to be in from this, which is on the outside of the tube. So I'm going to make a little piece that will go across there, inside there. So let me, that's going to be easy to do. Let me just cut a piece to go in there, and I'll show you that. Now what I've decided to do I was thinking of just putting a tab on, and I thought, no, that would look naff because you'd be able to see into there and whatever. So, because this is only here to hold on a light alloy, because it's going to be 16th side panel. Busy with lorries again today. There's another one. Talk amongst yourselves. There they go. What I'm going to do is make this out of some nice light plate as well. Good. What it is, you see, is we're on the route for the lorries of salt, road salt, because there's a road salt mine about 20 miles away, and they come this way. So often we'll get, you know, like a convoy of lorries that go through. So anyway, we're going to make a piece like that, and it could be nice and light because, as you see, it's going to be bronzed in all over the place, so it'll be quite stiff, and I might even put 2 bolt holes in that. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do that. So it'll bronze down there, it'll bronze down here, and we'll bronze it just along the edge here, and that'll look nice. I think that'll look pretty good in there like that when the side panel's on. So let me find some light sheet. I think I've got some kicking around, and I'll cut and bend a piece and bring you back. Cut a piece to go in here, so that's going to go in like that. Whoops. And as you see, again, it'll set our panel in nicely. So I don't know whether that is too light a gauge. I mean, with the bending and everything, it's pretty stiff. Yeah, that'll be all right. I think that'll be fine. So let me get that fastened in there. See what it looks like. Don't forget, we can always cut it back out. And then if that looks fine, I'll do the other side. Yes, you're right. So there's no need to write comments. That was too thin. So I managed to find some thicker gauge, but just not too heavy. I'm pleased with that. I overdid a little bit there, but nothing the grinder won't take care of. So that's in there nice and strong. Let's say I might put 2 mounting holes there. I don't know, because that's a wide piece. It might be like that. Anyway, let me make up another one of them for the other side, and then I can actually put the nut on at the very last minute when I decide what I'm going to do. I might even make the side panels up and see how they feel in there. Hang on. Here we go again. See there, they're nicely in. They've got a lot to rest on. And the bolt's very central. I don't know if one in there would be alright. But anyway, we'll see. So let me cut and bend up another one of these, weld it on the other side, and then we've got to look at the tank mount, the petrol tank mounted. I'll put the one in the other side, and I've decided that with this much sort of area for the 1/16 alloy plate to go against, one fastener is going to be enough. So we'll mark them up so they're going to be the same on both sides. 3 inches, so that's 1.5 inches, I hope. I'm trying not to get in front of the camera. Yep, there we go. That's 1.5 inches. Then the way we're going to get it from the top is, there's a 1/4 inch. There's a washer for a 1/4 inch bolt. So we'll put that there. Now I'm going to mention something now as a little hint or tip or whatever. As you may know, I only use stainless steel fasteners. But for something like this, where I'm going to put a nut on the back, although I can use a stainless one, if I use a stainless bolt to hold that in place while I fasten it, when that cools down, I will not be able to get that stainless bolt out. Believe me, the galling after the heat of welding is just unbelievable. Pardon me. So if you're going to do that and you're going to use a stainless steel nut, you need an ordinary steel bolt to hold it in. That'll come straight out. You know, you can't put grease or anything on, because when you heat it up, that'll melt and get into the weld. But if you just use a plain steel bolt to hold your nut on, you'll be fine. Just do not use stainless in stainless and then heat the nut. Alright, let me drill this and pop a nut on the back of there. Then we're going to go to the petrol tank mounting. And there we have the final part of that. Drilled and a nut on the back, both sides. So that's the all the side panel mounts finished. Petrol tank mounting. Now there's no need for us to make one because oh, pardon me again. Because we had one on the other frame, so I just cut it off. But what we do need is we need to know where it's going to go. Now we not only need to know where it's going to go in relation to the way the tank sits here, but it's got to be on straight. So it's got to be right on the center line of that. So how are we going to get the center line? Right, I will show you. Now what we're going to use is we're going to use exactly the same procedure as we did to find the center for there. Remember, this is 1.5, this is 1.5. So if we lay something on that, we're touching the very outer edge. So if we do that there, and this, as I say, is 1.5 inch tube, whoops, and then I put that there, I can mark 3/4 inch there, I can mark 3/4 of an inch there, and then join those two up and we've got the exact center line of this piece of tube. Now all we need to do is to decide where the tank's going to go, and then we can put that on so it's exactly centered. So let me go and get the tank. And I think you can just about see, it's a little difficult with the tube being shiny, the line down the centre of there. Now of course we've got a line on the centre of this and I've marked the centre there. So all we've got to do is decide, we don't want too big a gap at the back where we're going to make the saddle come up there, and also of course we've got to have enough room for the forks to come around a decent amount. I'm not a big fan of these tanks, to be honest. I think they could have made them much nicer at the front end, but I think probably, I don't know, something about like that. I mean, the worst comes to the worst, we can always cut the mounting off and redo it. So I'll line those centres up. This isn't that important. And then I'm going to mark the centre of this hole. Right. So that's that. Wasn't quite happy with the first one, so the long one is the line. Now all we do is we put that on and the thing slides in frontways, so that that is going to go there like that. But use our little magnetic thing to hold it. Put the bronze on either side. In fact, what I might just do is tack it, and then when we've done the dry build and we know it's in the right place, just before paint, I can put the final bit of bronze on there. So let me do that. I've just had a thought. I know why they made it this funny shape at the front. It's because on the oil and frame there's the oil filler here, so I suppose they had to cut it back. So there you go. Alright, let me now bronze the bracket on. There it is on, just yeah. I just tacked it front and back each side, so that'll be fine. It's nicely on line, everything's good. So the last thing to do is to cut off those couple of silencer brackets. So let me do that and then I will show you the completed frame. So there's our frame, all finished. New bottom in, new top in. This bit's new, got our gussets in, mountings. As I say, the only mounting that we'll have to do on the frame now is when we make up the airbox, we're going to have something to do here. And I have a gusset that I want to put in the back, but I've left that because I might make that all in one piece with a mounting for the airbox. So that's it, everything's in there, everything still moves nicely. Where are we? Oh, nuts dropped off there. So looks as if that's frame done. Next thing we'll move on to is doing these side panels. So I'll go and cough my way up to the house and you go and enjoy yourselves.